Jason Ludwig from Lynn, Massachusetts. I grew up in a very large family, and we had, it was very dysfunctional, a lot of divorce, a lot of violence, and, inevitably just kind of led me to a life of addiction and crime. My father, he was out of the house at 8 years old, and, just left me searching, kind of like looking around, what is it to be a man? And I was looking up to a lot of my friends' older brothers in the neighborhood that were stealing cars, and they had nice clothes and money in their pocket. And so I just started to do the same things that they started to do. And so, at a young age, started drinking and smoking weed, and eventually, taking pills, and, so eventually led me to a fierce cocaine addiction. And started stealing cars at a very young age. It was a big thing back in the day, and then I started getting locked up in DYS, Juvenile Detention Center, at the age of 14 years old. And so from the age of 14 to 25, I was in and out for 9.5 years. And like I said, my addiction went from just smoking marijuana to mainlining cocaine. I had a lot of questions about life. I wasn't sure. I was really unclear, just kind of what direction, and everything. Looking back now, is just even going through other things, it seemed like just life was a fog. It was like, there was no intentionality in my life back then. It was just like, you live for the moment type of thing. And so, I was just kind of really lost, and from the outside looking in, you'd look at, this kid's just a troubled little punk kid who's up to no good. And really it was a complete opposite of that. Well, my first experience of God, when I was 15 at the time. I was in this place called Camp Squanto down Cape Cod, and these two guys, John and Tim, used to come in, and I remember they invited us to the Bible study, and I don't know if it was like I was so much interested in the Bible study than I was in them, because they were just like, there was like this peace they had about them. I was like, man, these guys are pretty peaceful guys. And so I said, I'm just gonna go. So I went to the Bible study, and when I was at the Bible study, it was like I never knew God in that way before. But then I remember another time too, they brought this other kid in who shared his testimony, and when he was sharing his story, the stuff that he was involved in was pretty serious. And so the person that he was, I could see the change in him. He was not the same as us. Like, he wasn't that same street kid anymore. I could just see there's like, you can just read people. I know I can. And it was something different about him. And then I remember that day, John, Tim, they just asked us if we wanted to invite God into our life. You can say this prayer. And I remember doing that and really excited about it, because I'm like, I just wanted what they had. They had this peace about them. It's funny. That was 27 years ago. I was inside their Bible study. What was really cool was, I've connected with them since I've been home and worked with Straight Ahead, but it was just a few weeks ago that we were actually, the first time we were all together for the first time, myself, John, and Tim. And it was pretty powerful. I'm getting a little choked up right now just thinking about it, but it was just pretty amazing to sit at the table with these guys, and you look back at how God had his hand on your life, and you look at these two guys who are still doing the faith and are still working in ministry. And it's just like such an inspiration to me to continue doing the work that I'm doing with these guys. The highlight for me now, going back into these same facilities, it's like the day I came out of lockup, I'll never go back in there again. But man, it's like my favorite day of the week. I'm in these facilities 3 times a week, and the highlight for me is going in and seeing these kids. The majority of them have no hope. A lot of them going back to the same type of environment that I once lived in. And what I'm excited about is that, that we're there with them, and I'm introducing them to the same God that I get to know, and that I get excited because I know when they get to grow that relationship with God, that they'll completely have a different life than what they have now.